Welcome back to another episode of the RGV Sports Podcast. My name is Bryan Ramos.
And I'm Ivan Palacios. Week 7's in the books. We're in the home stretch now. These teams are fighting for those district titles, fighting for those playoff spots. It's getting tighter and tighter, man.
Yeah, entering the home stretch of the regular season. 4 weeks remain in the Texas high school football regular season. And, of course, that means district championship races, playoff races. Ivan, those are heating up. And, man, we got teams going at it, man. In Week 7, a bunch of rivalry games taking place, a few battles between some good district teams. But, man, I'm just excited to be entering the final month of the regular season as we get those teams to be crowned district champions and see who will lock up one of those 4 playoff spots in district, Ivan. And as always, we start off the RGV Sports Podcast recapping our Week 7 action. And Ivan, you had the game of the week last week. Why don't you break down what happened for us in the RGVsports.com game of the week?
Yeah, man. So it was a game until it wasn't. You had the number 4 Chargers hosting the number 7 Cardinals at the time. And Brownsville Vets, they jump out 13-0 early on. 2 field goals by Roman Reina, including a 44-yarder. The kid's got a leg on him, man. And then 39-yard touchdown by Cesar Belmontes to go along with it. So they're up 13-0 early. You can feel that physicality of Brownsville Vets, the environment. And Harlingen freshman answers with a 62-yard touchdown by freshman Hassan Woolery to make it a 13-7 at the break. He does go down with the injury midway through the second quarter. He is out for the year, unfortunately, and they're down to their third-string quarterback now, and you could see the difference in that second half.
Mm-hmm.
Chargers outscore Harlingen High 27-2 in the second half. Their 2 points only came on an interception on an extra point attempt, 2-point conversion attempt that Harlingen ran back, and just another dominant showing by these Chargers in their return to 6A. It was kind of like a statement game, it felt. They wanted to show they can hang with those big dogs like Harlingen, those premier programs in 6A. And they had never beat Harlingen going to this one. They had played in 6A before. They were 0-4 against Harlingen.
Mm-hmm.
And Harlingen, they handed it to them. Over 350 rushing yards on the ground, 5 touchdowns. They had that 3-headed monster of Alvin Trevelyan, Cesar Belmontes, and Storm Montoya in the backfield. Trevelyan 111 and a touchdown, Belmontes 97 and 2 touchdowns, Storm 77 and 2 touchdowns. So it's like pick your poison out there, not to mention some other guys they have out there. So just a dominant showing by the Chargers in our game of the week.
Mm-hmm.
Start off District 32 6A with a statement win over Harlingen High and kind of just established themselves like, yeah, we might have moved up, but we're no one to play with. So huge game win by the Chargers, and prayers out to freshman Hassan Woolery. He had some impressive plays early on in the season, and it's never good to see him go down, and hopefully it's just a minor setback for a major comeback. But yeah, man, big one there in Brownsville to start the 32-6 play.
Yeah, you said it, Ivan. Statement win for Brownsville veterans. People thought, can they compete for a district title at the 6A level? Well, I think we have our answer. So big win for Brownsville veterans in the RGV Sports Game of the Week. And then, as I mentioned earlier, we had some rivalry games, Ivan, going on here in Week 7. A couple big ones going on. But I think the biggest rivalry that we had here in Week 7, Ed Couch Elsa, Mercedes, they meet for the 75th time. And Ed Couch Elsa, after losing the previous 9 matchups against Mercedes, they win their second straight after winning last year's game. This year they beat Mercedes 21-7 at home at Benny Layton Memorial Stadium there at Ed Couch Elsa, a.k.a. the Black Hole. And, man, they put it on Mercedes from start to finish, and it started with Ed Couch Elsa's Thunder defense. They had 3 takeaways, 8 sacks combined as a team, 3 from Gavin Rodriguez, 2 from Matthew Connell. Just all around lights out game from this Ed Couch Elsa Yellow Jackets team as they improved to 4-2 overall, 1-0 in district. Mercedes drops to 3-3 overall, 0-1 in district. But, man, this Ed Couch Elsa team, they jumped up on them early, man. It was 21-0 before Mercedes scored late in the fourth quarter to finally get on the board on a Robert Sanchez touchdown run. But Ed Couch Elsa took care of business, man. Their defense set them up, and the offense just did just enough to take care of business. 3 rushing touchdowns from Elijah Trevino, Aiden Garcia, and Aiden Mercado for the Ed Couch Elsa Yellow Jackets in a big win over the rival Mercedes Tigers. So congratulations to Ed Couch on a big win, starting District 1-0 there in District 16 5A D2. So big win for the Yellow Jackets there, Ivan. And back to you, man. What was some other Week 7 football action that stood out to you?
Just talking about rivalries, let's take it over to Edinburgh North and Edinburgh Economy is a 2 face-off. Jaguars came into this one an 8-game losing streak to the Cougars. Hadn't beat them since 2015. where they delivered a beat down there, 31-7, take down Edinburgh North to snap that 8-game losing streak, improve to 4-2. It's their the most wins since 2008. They went 4-6 that year. I mean, the past 2 years combined, or 3 years, they had only 4 wins. So this program, what Coach Raul Salas has done there, it's great to see. Over 400 yards on the ground and 4 touchdowns. You got 4 players go over 100 yards, and they found that identity. They're this, they want to take it to the ground. They want to grind you down, and they're doing it, and they're doing it well. I mean, they're 4-2. They start District 1-0. So shout out to Coach Salas and those Jaguars, and he came over 3 years ago. I think he was the 3rd or 4th head coach in as many years. So to take that program and build it into what it has, it's becoming. It's exciting to see, and I'm sure the Jaguars are excited to be a part of that as well.
Yeah, big win for Economides, man. They're in the inter-city rivalry game at the 6A level, and Ivan, we'll keep it there. We'll keep that theme going, man. They had another inter-city rivalry game. This time in District 15-5A D1, McAllen Memorial, McAllen High, 2 original McAllen schools going at it. And this was a fun one, man. McAllen Memorial obviously entered this one with the 4-1 record. Mac High was 1-4 coming in, but the records don't mean a thing when it's a rivalry game. Mac High pushed Memorial, gave them everything they had, but the Mustangs end up on top with a 32-29 victory over the Mac High Bulldogs. And Mac High was in charge for a large part of this game, man, until finally late in the second half of the fourth quarter, those final 6 minutes, McAllen Memorial scored 2 touchdowns late to pull ahead to make it a 2-possession game. Then Mac High scored once late, recovered an onside kick, and had a chance to tie the game on a late field goal, but an interception ends that game for McAllen Memorial. Mustangs win as they improve to 5-1 overall, 3-0 in district play. Mac High drops to 1-5 overall, and 1-2 in district play. But this was just an impressive game for McAllen Memorial, man. I mean, they looked good. We've seen them go play against a good mission team and kind of steamroll them and take care of business. And this one, Mac High, although the record doesn't reflect it, Mac High was able to push Memorial and really make things interesting there and give the Mustangs some adversity there in district play. JP Garza, it's only his 3rd game back from injury. He had 166 rushing yards and a touchdown. So he's already in 2 games. He has 276 yards rushing. After missing the first 3 games due to injury. His first game back, he only had a couple carries, just 15 yards, but they've really let him loose these last 2 weeks, and we've seen him produce. So big week for JP Garza, then touchdown runs from Braxton Spates and Kane Coy, and then the Memorial's passing connection of Kane Coy and Michael Alanese gets busy for 2 touchdowns. So this Memorial offense has a little more balance than we've seen in recent years, but the McAllen Memorial Mustangs, they're one of the top squads here at the 5A, 6A level in the Rio Grande Valley, and still unbeaten in district play, gunning for a district championship. So shout out to the Mustangs for a big District 15-5A D1 rivalry win over McAllen High. And Ivan, back to you, man. I know we had another sort of rivalry game at the sub 5A level between some of the big dogs at the sub 5A.
And it wasn't a rivalry, but it sure felt like it, man. I mean, the energy there was high. I got there about an hour and a half before kickoff. No parking. Fans from both sides were there already, and that was between number 2 Brownsville St. Joseph and number 1 Port Isabel. This one was at Canales Field there in Brownsville, and something about the game, it just felt like that playoff atmosphere. It felt like 2 teams that wanted to beat the other. And, Brownsville St. Joseph came and delivered a statement. They take down number 1 Port Isabel and hand them the first loss of the season, 58-20. And what a performance by the Bloodhounds. We're used to seeing these passing attacks, and not this week. They got it done on the ground. Claudio Torres over 200 yards on the ground. He adds another 70 through the air. He finishes with 332 total yards, 5 touchdowns. Kid plays defense too, 9 tackles, 4 tackles for loss, and 1 forced fumble. And he's, for the second time this year, RGVsports.com Player of the Week. The kid's a stud, man.
Yeah.
There's not much you can say about him. He could play at any level. Ranks number 1 in the Valley in receiving. Ranks number 3 in the Valley in rushing. Number 1 in scoring. I mean, come on. His numbers have been out of this world. But, you also got to talk about some of these other guys. Gavin C. Sneddles, quarterback, getting it done with his arm. Throws for 70 yards. Adds another 150 on the ground. rushes for 2 and then passes for 1. So big day for him too. That 1-2 punch they had between the two of them is really starting to take shape. And then on defense, Alejandro Garcia, 26 total tackles. I mean, he lived around the ball, and that's what you got to do against this Port Isabel offense. You got to watch the ball. You don't know who's going to get it, and he lived around it. 26 total tackles to lead the team.
Wow.
And it was 36-20 at the half. St. Joe's forces back-to-back turnovers in the third quarter, 2 fumbles. They lead to a pair of Claudio Torres touchdowns, and it was all over from there. They outscore the Tarpons 22-0. St. Joe's enters the bye week 6-1. They start district in a week from now against Victoria St. Joseph, but this team is hot. They're battle-tested. They've played 5A, 6As, the top sub-5A team at that time at the Valley. I mean, they're not afraid to take on anyone, and it shows. I mean, their one loss came to a powerhouse Regions team, and on the other side, PI, I mean, props to them for taking the game, and I think, it's back to the drawing board for them, but I wouldn't, doubt them too much. Coach Tony V has that offense ready, and now they're it's a new season, 6-1 out the window. You're getting ready for district now, but huge win for St. Joe's, kind of making a statement that they're not just the number 1 sub-5A team. I think they're gunning for that number 1 spot in the Valley.
Yeah, one of the top teams here in the Rio Grande Valley, regardless of classification. So a big win for the Bloodhounds there in Week 7. And we had another rivalry game, man. Sharyland High, Mission Veterans, 2 teams that share the city of Mission went at it. And this was a back-and-forth game, man. Saw a few momentum swings. Sharyland High jumps up 16-0 on Mission Veterans early in the second quarter. Mission Veterans scores the next 20 points to pull it 20-16. And then Sharyland High eventually puts things together late to score twice in the fourth quarter to escape with a 30-20 win over Mission Veterans as Sharyland improves to 4-3 overall, starts off District 15-5A D2 play at 1-0, while Mission Veterans drops to 0-1 in District. And this was a fun game, man. I mean, we saw Sharyland quarterback Calvin Harris, who has been one of the top dual threat quarterbacks here in the Rio Grande Valley. He had some success early, then ran into some adversity, threw a couple interceptions, and he didn't let that phase him, man. Those interceptions kind of allowed Mission Veterans to come back in the game and take that 20-16 lead entering the fourth quarter. But then after battling through a slow second quarter, a slow third quarter, that Sharyland offense puts things together with Calvin Harris. He throws a 30-yard touchdown pass to Bruno Cavazos on a fourth down to give Sharyland the 23-20 lead, and then he runs for another touchdown in the final minute to make it a 30-20, that final margin. But this was a fun game, man. I mean, Santiago Longoria rushes for 2 touchdowns for the Rattlers, and then Calvin Harris with 1 rushing touchdown, 1 passing touchdown. Wide receiver Bruno Cavazos, 6 receptions, 103 yards, and that touchdown, that was the go-ahead late in the fourth quarter. And on that play, he mossed 2 defenders at the goal line to get in. Mission Veterans, Cameron Sarinana throws 1 touchdown pass to Jordan Rodriguez. Alejandro Garza runs for 1, and then sophomore defensive back Quentin Valverde returns an interception for a touchdown for Mission Veterans, 20 points. But I mean, this was a good game, man. I know it was a 2-score game at the end, but it was a back and forth one, and it was fun. And we saw both offenses have some moments, both defenses have some moments, but in the end, Sharyland takes care of business to improve to 1-0 in district play. So big win for the Rattlers. And then Ivan, I know we've already talked about some rivalry games, Ivan, but we had a sub-5A rivalry game, the Cotton Bowl, between Lyford and Raymondville. Just your thoughts on that sub-5A rivalry.
I mean, it was a tightly contested game. 8-7 was the final score. Lyford coming out on top. Adrian Chavez with the game-winning interception there. And it's like you mentioned earlier, when rivalries, when you get down to it, records go out the window. They're going to play each other tough. There's just something different about playing in those rivalry games. So shout out Lyford coming out on top in that Cotton Bowl win. And just to run through some other games, I mean, you had Weslico High pick up their 4th win of the year. They take down La Jolla 42-14, open 31-6A. Athlete Chris Luna, 3 touchdowns during that game, 2 receiving, 1 rushing. And then what about San Benito, man? They get that first win of the year. They take down Brownsville Hanna 26-20 to kick off 32-6A. As like we mentioned before, once district spot starts, those records are out the window. You could have gone 0-6, but if you go perfect or win a couple in district, you're in the big dance, and that's all that matters. Shout out quarterback Tyler Reese in that one, rushing for over 100 yards and 2 touchdowns. And just, big games going on, district starting, and you're starting to see these teams kind of, putting the past behind them, and it's time to lock in now.
Yeah, absolutely.
And before we move on, to our rankings, we want to take a quick moment to hear some words from some of our partners who make covering high school athletes here in the Rio Grande Valley possible.
Welcome to NAP Medical Center in Weslaco, your award-winning destination for stroke care. We are proud to introduce our primary stroke center powered by the most advanced technology through Viz AI and in partnership with DHR Stroke Network.
At NAP Medical Center, we understand the urgency of stroke care and the importance of quick intervention.
When a stroke alert is activated, our specialized stroke team springs into action.
Upon arrival at NAP Medical Center, our patients are swiftly taken to our CT scan room, where the advanced imaging technology captures detailed images of the brain.
These images are then sent to Viz AI's powerful artificial intelligence platform, which analyzes the scan in real time.
Viz AI's cutting-edge algorithms quickly and accurately identify potential signs of stroke,
assisting our team in making informed decisions about the best course of treatment.
NAP Medical Center's primary stroke center
Is dedicated to provide our patients with the highest level of stroke care.
giving them the best chance for recovery.
Trust our experienced team to deliver compassionate care
Advanced technology
And timely intervention.
when it matters the most.
You want economical? Need more space? Need reliable safety features? Clark Knapp Honda's got you covered.
Summer might be ending, but Clark Knapp Honda is still heating up with incredible deals like 2.9% APR for 36 months on a 2025 CRV for well-qualified buyers.
Honda for all.
Thank you to our partners for joining us here at RGV Sports and promoting high school athletics here in the Rio Grande Valley. And Ivan, we'll keep this thing moving, man, and dive into our RGV Sports football rankings entering week 8 of the high school football regular season. And as always, we'll start off with the top 10. Not much movement in the top 6 teams. PSG North, Edinburgh Vela, McAllen Memorial, Brownsville Veterans, PSG High, and Los Fresnos all stay at spots 1 through 6. They all pick up big wins, except Los Fresnos was on a bye this past week.
Yes,
so not much movement in the top 6 spots. But our number 7 team last week was Harlingen High. They lost Ivan. That allows Westaco High, Westaco East to slide up into spots 7 and 8. And that also opens up room for our number 9 and number 10 teams, the Brownsville Pace Vikings and the Brownsville Lopez Lobos. The Vikings were originally in our top 10 a few weeks ago before their loss to Edinburgh Economides. And then, so this is their second appearance in the RGV Sports top 10. Brownsville Lopez, this is their first appearance in the top 10 after their best start since 2017. Just a really big kind of resurgence there from the Lobos as they break their way into the top 10. And Ivan, you recapped the game earlier, but we had a little bit of a leapfrogging happen in those top 2 spots in our sub 5A top 4.
Yeah, so Brownsville St. Joseph, they had the number 1 spot for the longest time, and then they lose to Austin Regents, allows Port Isabel to jump them. Well, they came back, they reclaimed their spot at the top with that win. They dropped Port Isabel to number 2. Both of them have 6-1 records. And then at number 3, we have Santa Rosa, picked up another win. They're still perfect, one of the few perfect teams left here in the Valley. Mm-hmm. And then coming in at number 4, Rio Hondo team that started in our poll, if I'm not mistaken. And, they lose Kean Lopez to injury early on, and, it's kind of who's going to step up. And that quarterback, Ruben Atkinson, Nate Sosa at receiver, Gavin Pettis, they got playmakers there. Yeah. It's next man up there, and they're 4-2 now, and they're rolling as they get into that meat grinder of district now. So that rounds out our top 4. We got St. Joe's, Port Isabel, Santa Rosa, and then Rio Hondo. And just to quickly go through our Coastal Bend top 4, Flower Bluff stays at number 1, 6-0. We kind of touched on them last week. They're on a collision course, it seems, with PSG North. Mm-hmm. Number 2, Miller opens up district with a 70-14 win over Corpus Christi Moody. Tulsa Midway, 5-2. They move up 1 spot, and then coming back to our poll, they started in our poll. Cal Allen, 5-2 now. They're rolling, and I think they play each other this week. It's a huge matchup coming up for them too. Yeah,
big matchup there between 2 teams in District 16 4A D1, Cal Allen and Tulsa Midway, that we'll have our eyes on here in the Rio Grande Valley. But now with our top 10 rankings here out of the way, we're going to dive into our Week 8 preview in just a second. But before we do that, we'd like to thank, and with the RGV Sports football rankings in the books, we're going to dive into our Week 8 preview, breaking down all our Week 8 schedule. But before we do that, I'd like to take a moment to thank our partners who make promoting high school athletes here in the Rio Grande Valley possible.
Welcome to Mission Regional Medical Center, your award-winning destination for stroke care. We are proud to introduce our primary stroke center powered by the most advanced technology through Viz AI and in partnership with DHR Stroke Network. At Mission Regional Medical Center, we understand the urgency of stroke care and the importance of quick intervention.
When a stroke alert is activated, our specialized stroke team springs into action.
Upon arrival at Mission Regional Medical Center, our patients are swiftly taken to our CT scan room where advanced imaging technology captures detailed images of the brain.
These images are then sent to Viz AI's powerful artificial intelligence platform, which analyzes the scan in real time.
Viz AI's cutting-edge algorithms quickly and accurately identify potential signs of stroke,
assisting our team in making informed decisions about the best course of treatment.
Mission Regional Medical Center Primary Stroke Center
Is dedicated to provide our patients with the highest level of stroke care.
Giving them the best chance for recovery.
trust our experienced team to deliver compassionate care
Advanced technology
And timely intervention.
when it matters the most.
Thank you to our partners for partnering up with us here in the Rio Grande Valley to shine a light on high school sports here in the Rio Grande Valley. And with that said, we're going to dive right into our Week 8 preview, Ivan, and that takes us to our RGV Sports Game of the Week, District 16-5A D2, between teams that have their sights set on a district championship, and this game will play a large part in deciding that.
Yeah, so this Friday at 7 p.m. at Tiger Stadium in Mercedes, the Mercedes Tigers host the number 10 Brownsville Lopez Lobos in a huge district matchup, like you said. Lopez comes into this one 5-1. They won their district opener, so they're 1-0 in district, and they won 3 straight since that loss to Palmview earlier this year. And, you know, they have a pass-heavy attack. You got Gabriel Ramirez, 1,400 passing yards, 22 touchdowns. Gabriel Rios, who's 32 receptions, 633 yards, and 12 touchdowns, put him in the top 5 in the Valley in rushing. And, you know, to add that, you add in Eddie Slovak, who's coming back from injury. He had 178 yards last week.
Mm-hmm.
He's at 610 yards and 5 touchdowns, despite only playing 4 games. And, you know, they're healthy, they're rolling. But Mercedes is coming into this one fresh off that loss to Edcouch. It almost feels like a must-win for Mercedes to keep their district title hopes alive in this district that seems wide open. So, you know, they're not just going to walk in and, you know, let Lopez push them around. I mean, you got 2 quarterbacks in Diego Bravo and Aaron Cortez combined for almost 1,000 yards and 4 touchdowns. And I think their biggest weapon on offense comes from the running back position. Robert Sanchez, over 700 yards and 7 touchdowns. And it should be an explosive one. These are 2 offenses that can light up the scoreboard. You got playmakers on both sides of the ball. And like you mentioned, it's a district game with a lot of district title implications on there. I think can go either way, but whoever wins takes that next step to possibly claiming that district title.
Yeah, some good football being played there in District 16-5A D2, especially here in Week 8, and we're looking forward to a few more matchups as we enter this final month of the regular season. But to keep things moving here in our Week 8 preview, we'll start off with District 15-5A D1. That is PSG North and PSG Memorial facing off. Of course, PSG Memorial 6-0, the number 1 team here in the RGVsports.com 5A, 6A football rankings. PSG Memorial started the year off in those rankings, took an early beatdown against Brownsville Veterans, but since then they put things together, man. They're 3-3 overall and 2-2 in district play, and this will be a big one, man. Ethan Guerra has over 800 rushing yards, over 200 receiving yards, just averaging over 10 yards per touch in this PSG North offense, and that's without playing a lot of fourth quarters, being that the Raiders are winning a lot of games by big scores. So he's just off to a sensational start. Just a junior. We've seen him do it since he was a freshman. But the thing that impresses me about this PSG North team is how their passing offense continues to grow with quarterback Darren Garcia. Last week he connects with freshman Isaiah Garza for a touchdown. Nick Torres continues to come on as a weapon there, and Diego Aparicio also on the receiving end of a touchdown catch there for the PSG North Raiders in Week 7. And then PSG Memorial, man, I mean, as I mentioned it, they've played they've only lost to big dogs, man. They've lost to Brownsville Veterans, they've lost to Flower Bluff, and then they lost to Westaco East by 1 point in overtime. So this PSG Memorial team, they're scrappy, man. They're going to bring it. Head coach Will Littleton used to be the defensive coordinator at PSG North before taking over the head coaching duties at PSG Memorial in 2021, and since then he's turned that program around in quick time. And now we'll see his new squad, the PSG Memorial Wolverines, take on the PSG North Raiders. And man, this should be a fun one. PSG Memorial running back Emi Kolunga, 661 rushing yards and 6 touchdowns in 6 games. So he's just a stud and a do-it-all back there in this PSG Memorial offense. So looking forward to a good one there in District 15 5A D2. And Ivan, back to you, man. I know we have some other big games going on in the 6A and sub 5A level.
Yeah, I mean, we'll keep it in 6A for now. I mean, you got Edinburgh Economides hitting the road to take on PSG High this Thursday at 7 p.m. at PSG Stadium, and both come in with 4-2 records, both 1-0 in district. And you know, like we mentioned earlier, Economides is off to its best start since 2018, and PSG High, they won the district title last year. They're the reigning 31 6A champs, and they want to keep it that way. And 2 different styles of offense here. You know, we know PSG High is a pass-heavy offense. They can throw anywhere from 50 to 60 times a game if they wanted to. You know, there's a reason quarterback Miles Lopez leads the Valley in passing. It's 1,800 yards, 13 touchdowns, and he's got weapons like Ryan Bayet, who's 680 yards and 6 touchdowns. And on the opposite side, you got Economides averaging 352 yards per game on the ground. They have 3 or 4 guys almost over 400 yards, led by Johan Nunes with 578 and 5 touchdowns. Their quarterback, John Carrion, has 519 yards and 7 touchdowns. And just a loaded group. It's kind of a pick your poison, kind of like PIs in a way. Like pick your poison, who's going to get the ball. You got to stop whichever one. And they spread the wealth there. There's plenty of guys that can touch the ball. And it's going to be interesting how PSG High handles that run-heavy offense. We saw them against Brownsville veterans kind of, you know, struggle a little bit against it. You know, they were able to keep it close, but that offense can wear you down. So it's the big one for Economides too. I mean, they want to win a district title. I'm not too sure when the last time they won one, but you know, you mentioned Coach Littleton and the turnaround he's had. We got to give a shout out to Coach Salas too, like we did earlier. It seems like there's a lot of these third-year coaches that are leading their programs in a little resurgence this year. So it's a big one for 31 6A this Thursday at 7 p.m. again at PSG Stadium, where the Bears host the Jaguars. And
to dive into District 16 5A D1, there's 3 teams tied for first place in 16 5A D1. Edinburgh Vela, McAllen Rowe, McAllen Memorial. Well, Edinburgh Vela and McAllen Rowe play this week, so that number could drop to either a 2-way tie or just one team on top pending this week's results. But Edinburgh Vela, 6-0, 3-0 overall, the number 2 team here in the Rio Grande Valley. And then the Warriors started off 0-3, but started off district play 3-0. Those are the games that matter. So the Warriors off to a good start in district play. Credit to them. Running back Samuel Liguez, over 515 yards rushing and 7 touchdowns on the year to lead that Warriors offense. And then Edinburgh Vela running back Jonathan Flores, 901 rushing yards, 10 touchdowns, ranks number 5 or number 4 in the Rio Grande Valley, 5 if you include the Coastal Bend rushers. So Jonathan Flores just off to a good start. They're running the ball behind a really good offensive line for the SaberCats. And then quarterback Jeffrey Lefevre last week, had 212 yards, 4 touchdowns on just 10 completions. So that just shows you just the offense looking much better and putting things together with that passing attack that kind of changed things and mixed things up a little bit compared to years past than we've seen the SaberCats offense look. But yeah, man, Edinburgh Vela, as good as it gets here in the Rio Grande Valley, Rowe has a chance to stop them and shock the world. So this should be a good one. Both teams 3-0 in district play. This one is 7:30 p.m. Friday at McAllen Veterans Memorial Stadium. So expecting a good one there between the SaberCats and Warriors, and looking forward to it. And Ivan, I know I mentioned some sub 5A games going on. We got some good ones that could that have some district title implications there in the 4A level.
Yeah, I mean, 16 4A D2 is only a 4-team district, so everyone's guaranteed a spot in the playoffs, but you're still playing for that district title, and that begins this Friday at 7 p.m. at Tarpon Stadium with 2 of the top teams in Kingsville King and Port Isabel going head-to-head. Both of them are 6-1. It's the district opener for these two. On one side, you got PI coming off their first loss of the year. They lost to St. Joe's last week, big loss for them, but it's how do they bounce back? On the other side, you got Kingsville King. Their only loss came to Carroll, a 5A program. They lost a 46-47. It was maybe a 1-possession game, so it was a close one. So they've shown they can put up points. It's going to be interesting to see how these two match up. PI, we know them, run heavy. They're averaging over 300, 400 yards a game on the ground, led by Luis Ramos, is 141.2 rush yards per game. And on the other side, you got a more balanced offensive attack where Kingsville King Dylan Everett is averaging 210 yards per game through the air, while Darius Montgomery is averaging 118 rush yards per game. Real balanced attack there, kind of make you pick your poison. So it's going to be interesting to see how PI can bounce back. And the winner here is likely, like I said, everyone's in the playoffs there already, only a 4-team district, but the winner's in control for that district title down the stretch.
Yeah, big one there in the 4A level. And to wrap up our Week 8 preview, we'll jump into District 15-5A D2. And this one is Sharyland Pioneer at Roma, 7 p.m. Friday at Gladiator Arena in Roma. And these two teams last year, there was a 3-way tie for a district title. Pioneer and Roma were two teams that had a share of it. Now these teams, they'll meet here early in district play. And Pioneer coming off a 28-0 loss against Alice, struggled to get any offense going there. So they're going to look to bounce back here against a good Roma squad that is 4-2. 0-0 in district play. They had a bye week last week, so while Pioneer has that one district loss, Roma will be looking to get into the win column, as does Pioneer there in district play. So I'm expecting a good one between these two. Pioneers, we've known how much they've aired the ball out in the past few years, but this year their offense has relied on the running game of running back Dylan Tijerina and running back Marcus Perales. Dylan Tijerina, the only one. The Diamondbacks were without Perales this past week, so Dylan Tijerina gets most of the work there against Alice as the Diamondbacks come up short. So hopefully they're at full strength going against a solid Roma squad that has played some really good football this year. So I'm expecting a good one between those two teams. There's 5 teams in District 15-5A D2, so one team's going to miss the playoff spot. Every loss is crucial, so this one will be a big one as both those teams look to stay in playoff contention there in District 15-5A D2. So with that said, that wraps up our Week 8 preview, breaking down the Week 8 slate here across the Rio Grande Valley and even across the Coastal Bend here, as we have some big games coming up with some of our Coastal Bend teams here that are playing against Rio Grande Valley teams in district play. So we look forward to getting into that. But for now, you can visit us at rgvsports.com, at rgvsports.com on Facebook and Twitter as well, and on YouTube to catch all our latest stats and standings valley-wide, and including some of the Coastal Bend teams. So you can find all that at rgvsports.com. And Ivan, what are you looking forward to most here about Week 8, man? I mean, some big games going on, and just entering the final month of the regular season.
I'm excited to see these programs that are like on a resurgence. You kind of say you got a lot of these third-year head coaches, from Sean Tarantola at Lopez to Raul Salas at Economides, Coach Littleton at Piedmont Memorial. Seeing the turnaround of these programs, it's exciting to see, and I want to see how they finish up the year. Can one of them claim a district title? Can they win a playoff game? It's just exciting to see that, and it's coming down in the home stretch. And a lot of these games this week are going to be like kind of the prove it kind of games. Like, let's see how good you really are now that district's starting to roll.
Yeah, some good football going on here in Week 8 in the Rio Grande Valley. We're looking forward to it. So with that said, thank you for joining us for another episode of the RGV Sports Podcast. We'll catch you next time.